Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here to review Mighty Ducks, the animated series, episodes 1 through 4, sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wing. This old show that. Man, really, Disney's in the rough because, yeah, Buffalo Wild Wings really needs to sponsor this. Because, yeah, the leader of this group is to actually be called Wild Wing, and so I immediately want to make that joke as much as possible. So, when going into this show, just wanting to just call it like Howard the Duck, the animated series, but with instead of there just being an individual duck, there's a group of them, and you know what, like for this show, it's honestly to be quite a bit of a head scratcher to really just be going on and being like, why exactly does this exist? But also, there are just certain things that it's just to not quite make much sense. But they just put this together, and I am to go on and talk about it now. So first off, like I think I can go on and explain this show via all of the questions of me being baffled by it. Could really be a thing that I can go on and kind of put these things together. So in the first two episodes, we have Captain Cleghorn that is going on and talking to Phil instead of any of the other ducks that are to be a part of this team. That the captain should really be going on and pulling him into his office to question them and ask what their life story is, because they should know it, not just some random guy named Phil that has gone on to probably briefly know these people. Or how is it that this guy knows their whole life story? That doesn't quite ever make much of sense to me within just dissecting this show, really. Phil goes on to explain that these ducks have come from a alternate universe called Duck World. And immediately I'm like, well, why not just to have kept the ducks at Duck World? Why does it feel that we exactly need them to go to Earth? What is the pushing of that? Like, why can you have gone on and just made Duck World very much similar to Earth and just had that all play out? Like, did you just want a fish out of water story? Did you like? Did you think no? We have to go on and pluck these ducks onto Earth because it to us makes a lot more sense. I don't know. Like, if anything, I guess like an alien duck like thing could, I guess, be an attractive bit of thing here, and have all of these ducks just trying to figure out this world. I guess could go on to be more fascinating of a story to be put together, I guess. Plus, also, you can get the best of both worlds within the ducks facing off against whatever alien threat, but then also whatever threat is to be on Earth, I guess, to kind of compound things. So, within these first two episodes, they go on to rattle off this whole legend of Drake's story, that he was to have gone and had this very special goalie mask that can go on and see the unseen and be able to have banished Lord Dragonis to some alternate world or realm or dimension or what have you, and is to have basically succeeded where so many have failed. So conveniently, right as this story is to be told, because I'm sure this legend is to be kind of muttered over and over and over again, we would just have these guys just be playing hockey because that's all they effing do. They're always on skates. They're always just playing hockey. So shortly thereafter that, we of course have Lord Dragonus, who's like, well, hey, I'm going to invade Earth because I have made my way back here, and this time around, I have a whole fleet of these fighters that are following with me. So Lord Dragonus takes over Duck World, or Duck World, Puck World, and enslaves them and all has them walk in the line. They do a lot of that. Buffalo Wild Wings goes on and eventually meets up with Kennard, who was to be a befriend to him and is actually now a part of the Resistance, and reveals that the goalie hockey mask thing that we see here was actually a true story. Because if anything, they were kind of pondering back and forth whether or not if the legend of this is really true. So Buffalo Wild Wings goes on, or B-Dubs goes on and joins the Resistance. Then we have to go on and we have to kind of showcase a number of other random characters that are going to be part of this Duck team that are to be Grin and Mallory and Tanya and Duke and what have you. And it's kind of funny how they go on and they goofily, funnily, really spend time to figure out the males' names, where they give them these Nosedive and Duke and whatever. But when they come to the women, they kind of just immediately just Mallory and Tanya. Really? You couldn't have gone with Feather or Wingnut or something. You could have gone with something more interesting than just Mallory and Tanya. But whatever, I guess. Those names had to stand out, or otherwise you were thinking that those action figures were going to sell that well, so the names didn't matter. So Kennard goes with his team to invade into Lord Dragonus and his ship. They go on and they invade it. They go on and set explosives and all kinds of things. So Lord Dragonus leaves off with his ship, and the Ducks follow suit in their arrow wing, which they found that there was one left conveniently. So Lord Dragonus decides that he's going to go into this gateway to just leave this dimension and then make his way to Earth's dimension. For how this guy spent painstakingly so much time to get to Duck World, he is so quickly to leave it now, isn't he? What if he was to go on and not be able to get back? Any number of things could happen. But if anyways, I guess he's just willing to take that risk. So, this guy that, didn't want to go F off and no longer make it back to Puck World. No, this guy is I need to make it back to Puck World. I need to get my revenge from Drake, who had gone on to just outsmart me. And so I want to dominate that planet. But then again, once he gets there, he's so quick to leave it. This doesn't make sense. So they land onto Earth. Lord Dragonov realizes that his cloaking device doesn't work. But they have these fights to get their way there. And the Ducks land on Anaheim, and they're okay, so what is this? What is this world? We have to figure it out. And Nosedive goes to the comic book shop, which leads them to the pond, which is the hockey arena, which gets them back to hockey, which they then need to play hockey against this destroyer team to like own the arena, I guess. So, and that's where they meet up with Phil, the lawyer that is just seeing dollar signs and is signing contracts for them, and then eventually they get to this secret base. They go on and they get this secret underground base. They start fighting crime. They get all these gadgets together. It's ways massively ridiculous technology that Tanya goes on and says, like, well, like the Earth is gonna have to catch up to our kind of technology, but it'll take a long time. So within these episodes, there is like uh, chips and chips and dips and chips and crystals and all kinds of things that eventually uh, these characters will need to hunt down, or like it's like who can get to this stuff the first. And also, there are to be in the third episodes characters like uh, Decoy, the woman duck that comes in and is to basically just say, "Oh yeah, I just found my way here." Oh, like, and then Decoy goes on and tells these guys that they need to make their way to these certain spots, and then eventually they find out that the ducks find out they're being trapped, all while Tanya is to have gone on and been knocked out because Tanya is to be the only one that knows about Decoy and how she's a bad person. So, and that's the third episode. Uh, the fourth episode is to basically be an episode that I think has done in every single show that has ever existed. This idea has been had at some point. Like, I can go on and probably find some random show where this thing has happened in it. Like, I can go on and I can pull, like, Extreme Ghostbusters. The season finale of that show, the ending, the last bit of story of that show, has this idea put in place. So, and if you've never heard of Extreme Ghostbusters, it's actually a pretty decent show. And it's a dark and edgy cartoon, and also has the real Ghostbusters that appears by the end of it. If you don't know who the real Ghostbusters is, then you're missing out on a lot of things here. Anyways, so there's a load of cartoons of seasons of things you could all check out at some point on probably an Amazon's or a Google or something. You gotta it probably somewhere. This stuff is maybe on some internet thing somewhere, or a bootleg app of which that you can go on and see if you just went through any of my other reviews and just try to find this bit of information. I'd probably go through the newer released reviews. They probably will have that somewhere. Anyways, so the fourth episode, Lord Dragonus is to have this energy creature that it unleashes onto the Ducks' headquarters, and it starts wreaking havoc. The Ducks try to attack this with their normal common weaponry, and the creatures start splitting in half and they multiply. It's like the whole Hydra cut off the head, two more shall rise. It's kind of like that. So, the more that they realize that the more they're trying to just fight this thing, the more worse it gets. Tanya is coming up with a strategy that she is to have heard about this Dr. Huggerman through this TV, and she's like, well, yeah, I've spoken to that guy, and we used to play cards together, and I think that he's the only one that's going to be able to figure out a way to beat this, so I need to go to his secret island, and I need to talk to him, to reason him, to think that he can help us out, and inevitably he hates the human race. So it's like, so why is it that Huggerman is to seek out Tanya when it doesn't really seem that he wants to seek out anybody. But anyways, so like too much logic gaps are to be happening in every one of these episodes. But anyways, so we by the fourth episode have Huggerman that has this energy magnet that pulls all the smaller creatures back into one giant one, and then they use the energy magnet again, as well as also Lord Dragunov is trying to use this satellite as this weapon, because they're at the Orville Industry, and they keep just wreaking havoc upon that area. Like they plant certain devices in there, they go on and because this Orville Industries is basically an area where they have this rocket silo where like astronaut ships go flying off and into space, like that kind of area. Uh, like the missile or rocket silo, whatever that place is, where they just shoot off rockets and astronauts go into space and what have you. Anyways, so with these 4 episodes all together, I can figure out ways to enjoy them because it just feels like classic cartoons to me. But also, I can just straight up look at this and quite often feel like there's not much rhyme or reason to it. And if anything, I could probably just recommend for people to just experience this cartoon, but really are to probably not go on and probably take much away from it. In a way of just like, for me watching this is for me to now to go on to any other superhero or cartoon thing and be like, well, yeah, I watched this cartoon, but it wasn't as weird or as goofy as Mighty Ducks was. Or if anything, while watching this show, I could be much more interested in going back into other projects or seeking out other cartoons like Street Sharks, or like this made me kind of, in some ways, it kind of made me feel like this reminded me of like Gargoyles. And I had reviewed Gargoyles at some point, so you could check out that review if you wanted to, but it doesn't really matter. I'm sure a lot of people, it won't really matter for a lot of people about that. Plus also, god dang, that theme song. Still to this day, I can remember the theme song now. Because I drilled into my head so many episodes of that. To where like the theme song just got to me. Like, I'll remember the theme song more than I'll remember anything of that show. Well, Goliath and Brooklyn. Yeah, that's about it. Anyways, so with that said, I can't for the life of me exactly feel that I really want to thumbs up this show. I really don't for this one. I have the thumbs up, but I'm just like, this is to just feel like a very goofy idea that was just baking off the success of a movie at some point. But this specific cartoon doesn't have a real rhyme or reason for it anymore. But then again, something like this could give me a lot of enjoyment because of how just weird and off it is. Just like, this is what they decided to make a show out of. And I am to just be like wowed by that they decided to make these ideas happen. There are some times where I may just want to go on to just see some really bad cartoons just to just be so wowed by, like, this is what they decided to put together. Like, this is this is the writing that is to be coming out of, like, of of a show that made a full-on season of this. And yeah, it died shortly thereafter that, because I'm sure it was only successful because of the Mighty Ducks movie. But yeah, like, it didn't really have much real legs, let's be honest. And then watching the show, yeah, it really just, like, what was this? What were they thinking? Um, yeah. But a lot of people could be like, no, this is my favorite cartoon of all time. There is always somebody out there that likes a little deep dish action of Strange. Like, at some point, I was very much tempted into watching Biker Mice from Mars, because I had found out that there is possibly some project that is going through the pipeline that is going to revive that project or do something with that project in the future. So I am kind of tempted to probably watch some weird and kooky cartoons to see if there's any legs for them of actual people being interested in them. But ultimately, also, um, I just want to go on and I just want to find something so goofy and so crappy and so bad that it is to just be fun to watch for me. And this kind of felt like in that direction, to just be like, I don't get this, but, like, hey, like, uh, if anything, uh, there's so many things that they just ran with cartoons. There's like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. There's a number of projects that I'm just so interested in the future to seek out. Um, because, like, I remember them in my childhood, or I always just wanted to just, like, look into this project, because it just sounded like they made a cartoon about it. Like, they had gone and I think made a cartoon about, like, Rambos and RoboCops and all these kind of other projects, and I'm like, I feel that I just need to just see what this is. Like, Mortal Kombat even had at one point a cartoon. Then I'm like, I think I need to find that and watch that. Um, just because, like, I think I remember watching it as a kid. Randomly at some point I found the Mortal Kombat cartoon, but and then I kind of, somewhere on YouTube, I kind of rewatched a part of it, or some of it somewhere. And so, like, I hope that the Mortal Kombat cartoon exists out there somewhere, so I can seek it out and enjoy and rewatch it, for how probably, like, it may not make much sense, but for why it exists. So I'm gonna enjoy these goofy, weird projects. I think finally getting to this was somewhat worth it, but then also, I hope it's worth it. I hope people are go on and click into this and watch it, or otherwise, I wasted another day doing a project that no one really cares about. Um, but I don't know. Like, we'll see where this one takes me, because I'm going on into some severely rare territories of projects. So let's hope for the best for this. Uh, like, I'm going on into some really rare kind of fields of uh, of content compared to so many other people. Like, I'm sure that, like, I'm not the only one to ever reviewed this, but I'm sure I probably will be uh, the only one to have done it in current time, probably. So, because nobody's probably thinking that Mighty Ducks is to be anything to care about anymore, especially after uh, that TV series kind of fizzled out. But anyways, because man, that show was freaking rough. Anyways, I think it's about that time to just go for scene, blow for blow about what happened through every bits of these episodes, because I think it's about that time. I had watched this episode yesterday, so like my memory is gonna be a little bit foggy about little small scenes or details, but I'm gonna get the biggest amount of chunks through this, and then also just kind of fast pedal through some of the stuff where I'm just like, I think I can kind of get through this part. I'm not sure. I'll just kind of quickly go through it and just try to do my best. Either way, this show was freaking weird. So maybe that'll be the grading of like it isn't awful, but it's also just to be like, what the was this? And I'm happy that I got to watch a show that baffled and was like, what? Because sometimes you need a little taste of that strange, and I got a heaping helping of that. So, let's get into this. So, spoilers, everybody. Let's do the song and dance. Spoiler time, spoiler time. It's about that time I get to spoil these episodes. Let me know in the comments below how you felt about Mighty Ducks, the animated series yourself, because hopefully you watched it as a kid or you watched it now. You randomly saw it and you're like, what the is this? Hopefully you enjoyed some Buffalo Wild Wings yourself, because no sponsor for this video, but maybe on this show had gotten a sponsor for it. I don't know. Either way, yeah, it's just a weird, goofy, funny thing to come up with here. So, the first face-off part 1, and then there's also a part 2. So, ironically, first but part 2. Anyways, kind of like the Rambo movies. It's all First Blood, but then it's part 2 First Blood. Okay, so. Anyways, we cut to a hockey arena called the Pond. We have this cop car that screeches its way into the front of the arena. We have Captain Cleghorn that makes his way outside of the front doors of this arena to then see this newspaper. He goes on and reads that Ducks had forwarded this this bank heist, and it also has to mention that cops are angry about the Ducks headlining. So it's kind of ironically funny here. So the captain puts the newspaper and thrusts it away, and he misses the days when Ducks were just meals on a plate. So within this arena, there is a game going on. We have the Ducks against the Quahogs. So the announcer's going on and doing play-by-play, obviously, because hockey game. So we would come to find that Tanya ends up getting the puck, and then inevitably it goes on to get kind of passed around through people. Grin ends up going on to smashing down one of the Quahog people. He ends up kind of just shoulder checking them. So inevitably by the end of this, we find that Nosedive is to, I think most of the time, be the guy that scores most of the goals. So he takes a shot by the end of all this, and the Ducks win, as it was tied almost going in to the end of the game. At one point, the announcer goes on and says, like, hey, maybe this will end the Ducks winning streak. So the game ends. The team all gets together in the middle of the ring, or in the middle of the arena, and they all do their kind of their stance. They're all kind of slapping and happy and whatever. And we'll go on and we'll see that this clip gets reused throughout a good chunk of this. Every time they win, they all get together the same And then it's all like just the same thing reused over and over again, so they can just kind of recut that footage and use it again. So Phil, who like I don't think is to actually be their coach. I think he's to just be their lawyer. Phil goes on and he leaves the arena and he goes back in the back. The captain grabs Phil and drags him into the police station and wants the story about the Ducks. He wants their life story, and he's getting it from Phil. Doesn't make any sense. So, and Phil is making jokes about parking tickets and such like that. So, Phil goes on to explain these alien ducks are to have made their way from another universe and another planet called Duck World or Puck World. My bad, Puck World. So there is to be a statue of a guy named Drake, who is to be their legend and the guy that they talk tales of. So we come to find that Kennard is slapping shots against Buffalo Wild Wings. And while that's going on, we have Nosedive that is saying the legend of Drake and how he was to have gone on and been able to use this hockey mask or this goalie mask and turn it into a weapon against Lord Dragunov to force him to leave the dimension, to leave the. They don't really go into full specifics because I think they don't know the whole story. But anyways, so Nosedive goes on and steals Wild Wings mask and puts it on himself. And so after they go on and they talk about this story, we then cut to Lord Dragunov, and all of his lackeys kind of appear next to him. Siege, Wraith, Chameleon. So Lord Dragunov is now happy to make his way to Puck World, and he's not alone. He has a whole fleet with him. So we have at one point where Chameleon turns into Hamlet and then turns into Groucho Marx or Groucho Mark or something like that. Kind of very old-fashioned bit of references that they have with Chameleon here. Like at one point, there's like Rodney Dangerfield, and I think there might be like Jerry Springer or something like that is referenced in some point of Chameleon. But also we have Curly from Three Stooges at some point in these episodes. So gear up for all of that. All those references, I'm sure of certain people that are like, dude, I have no idea what he's even talking about. So we now cut to Lord Dragunov wanting to destroy Puck World. And so he blasts upon Puck World and immediately destroys the Drake statue. And all these ships start coming flying in. So the next thing we cut to is a truck from Wiener World delivering food for the captain. And he's going on to have to continue to listen to Phil's story. So we then cut to the hunter drones gathering up all of the ducks in Puck World and forcing them into a line because ducks walk together. They don't fly together, they walk together. There's no flying V. Mighty Ducks references. So, as Buffalo Wild Wings and Nosedive is talking to one another, all of a sudden they end up getting grabbed by Kennard, and he goes on to explain that now he's with the Resistance because this is Terminator Salvation, or this is Star Wars, and Kennard is to reveal to both Nosedive and both Buffalo Wild Wings that the goalie helmet was real, and he's going to show it to them, which we see here. So Nosedive is to want to take a little touch of the mask, and it seems that Wild Wing and Nosedive are willing to commit to working with Kennard to join the Resistance. So we cut to Molly, we cut to Duke, we cut to Tanya and Grin to showcase their skill set. So Phil goes on to explain in specifics all of which that their skills are to be, because we spent so much time on other people so far, or other ducks, let's just say. So Mallory is good with combat. Duke is to be this kind of more like fencing guy, as well as also like he's just kind of fairly skilled. He's almost kind of more of like a very much like Zorro kind of character as far as like his fighting is to go on and be here. He's also kind of like Batman with that whole like grappling hook thing that he has from his arm. But anyways, so Luke is going on and eventually saving some food from these hunter drones. Tanya is to put explosives upon some of the hunter drones and then run off. Grin is to use his beefy muscular body to just outmuscle the hunter drones, and that's what we see him here doing. So the ducks all gather together, gaggle together, and they make their way to the Arrow Wing. Buffalo Wild Wings is going on and asking Kennard, hey, like, there's still like an Arrow Wing operational? And Kennard is like, yeah, like this is like the last one where we lucked out. The Arrow Wing is to be kind of hidden underneath this hole in the ground, so they sneak their way out. And so Wild Wing asks Kennard, okay, how is it that we're going to go on and be able to find exactly where Lord Dragunov's base is? Because we can't exactly see it. And Kennard's like, well, that's what the mask is for. So Kennard puts on the mask, and the mask goes from white to then gold. So Kennard can see the base, and he's flying to it. So they land. Everybody gets out, but Nosedive, the ship, to be like, hey man, you gotta be guarding the ship, as well as also he's gonna just randomly hit buttons and kind of put the windshield wipers on, and he's gonna have to go on to figure out how to fly that ship at some point. But pushing on here. So Kennard and the group all make their way into this. It looks like a tower. Like it looks like a castle that they've made their way into to infiltrate Lord Dragunov. So, or Lord Dragunus? I'm probably been ill pronouncing this name consistently incorrectly. Lord Dragonus. Lord Dragonus. That's his name. Lord Dragonus. It's just hard to pronounce and remember and figure it out. So, and these are all just kind of dinosaur creatures anyway, so it doesn't matter. I could just say, the dinosaur bad guys! Anyways. So, they make their way into this castle or tower like area. And as Grin and some of the guys start facing off against some of the hunter drones, they find this area that I think they dub a supercomputer. And Kennard starts to separate people. Mallory and Tanya go off to plant explosives, and Kennard, Duke, and Grin, they get separated from Wildwing, and eventually Wildwing asks Kennard, it's like, well, hey, what am I doing? And Kennard's like, well, you're going to fight Lord Dragonus. And Wildwing is like, well, why am I doing that? And Kennard is like, well, you're the best defenseman. Like, if anything, like, you're just going to hold this guy up as long as you can, because, like, you're always going to block him. You're always going to defend. So, Wildwing is to be at this point like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know why I'm having to be that guy. So, Wildwing eventually separates from the pact here, and it separates because a door closes. All of a sudden, Chameleon, Siege, and Wraith appear here. There's at one point where Wraith throws this fireball, and the ducks duck here. So, Buffalo Wild Wings finds some hunter drones and starts to just throw them around and outmuscle them. And just starts chucking them. He chucks one of the hunter drones towards this door. The door opens. Lord Dragonus is there. And so Wildwing is like, okay, all right, let's get going. Let's fight this out. And then all of a sudden, Lord Dragonus just disappears because even he himself is to have this ability to cloak himself. And so Wildwing is like, oh, well, there goes that strategy. So Dragonus grabs, after kind of beating up Wildwing, Dragonus grabs Wildwing, lifts him up, and then he reappears in front of him because he thinks that this is going to be his final blow and he's going to kill him now. So, the captain is speaking to Phil, and the captain is angry by this story, and like, he's pointing to his head, he's just very upset and what have you. So, Lord Dragonus takes Wildwing to this cell of a room that is going to imprison Wildwing's legs and have this this lever to be toggled that lowers Wildwing down into this ray that is going to kill him. So he's going to be lowered down to death. It's very strange. So now we're back to Nosedive. Nosedive is at this point needing to go on and figure out how this ship works. So he's randomly hitting buttons, and here's where he hits the windshield wipers. So back to Tanya and Mallory. So they're planting explosives, and Tanya tells Mallory to toggle something instead of hit a button. Mallory doesn't understand what she's talking about, and there's two different things to hit. So Mallory hits the button instead of the toggle, and Tanya is like, wait a minute, I told you to hit the toggle, not the... Like, this scene is kind of like in Mystery Man, where they're supposed to hit the switch, and the heroes are kind of confused about what switch to hit. It's like, wait a minute, we already we already hit that switch. Do you want me to hit it again? And it's like, just flip it, flip the switch. So they decide to hit the switch again, and then Captain Amazing dies. But yeah, like that's the mistake you make. So at that point, they're just hitting everything just to hope that there's some kind of weird reset going on. But anyways, he's dead. So moving on. So once Mallory accidentally hits the wrong thing to hit here, instead of them getting 9 minutes, they end up getting like less than like 2 minutes. So Tanya grabs Mallory, they book it out of there, and then explosives start to happen. So now Wild Wing is still getting lowered into this ray that is going to kill him, and Lord Dragunov leaves the cell to go off somewhere. Grin is being grabbed by Siege and getting chucked around. Chameleon is morphing into a baby to slip away from Canard, and then he turns into a massive giant of a creature that looks like a big muscular man of sorts, and faces off against Canard. As Duke faces off against Wraith, Duke whips out his sword, Wraith whips out his flaming sword, and so they fight. So, at some point, sides start being switched around here. The heroes start to get the better of their villainy. At one point, Grin grabs Siege and starts swinging him around. It hits the rest of the other villains. Lord Dragunov has all of his lackeys teleport out of there. They go off on the Raptor. The rest of the ducks, so Duke, Grin, Canard, they find where Wild Wing is being held, and Duke goes on and has this grappling hook from his arm, and then he swings to free Wild Wing. At this point, they realize that this place is going to explode, so they need to get the heck out of there. They explode a wall that leads them to the outside, and they realize that the arrow wing is no longer there. Canard starts yelling at Wild Wing, and then all of a sudden Nosedive appears with the ship. It's like, hey man, like you didn't think I was going to leave without you? Kind of thing. So everybody gets on the ship, and they fly off. Lord Dragunov is to open yet another portal gateway to go to another universe, hoping to slip away here to buy time. So the Ducks decide that they're following him through the universe because they want to track him down and make definitely for sure that they take him out this time. So as the Ducks follow with the arrow wing, the Raptor through this gateway, they come to find that they're being attacked by this weird space worm that is grabbing on to the ship and won't let go. Canard decides that he's going to sacrifice himself for the ship, and he's going to go out of the airlock and just let this worm take him and make the sacrifice play. Wild Wing tries to stop him, and Canard gives him the mask and tells him that he's the leader now. This sacrifice made absolutely no sense. They probably could have gone on and figured a way around this. I just didn't understand why this death was to happen here. Or there could be a possibility that this death didn't happen, and maybe that Canard is going to appear someday and be a variant of himself or something. I don't know. Maybe he's still out there somewhere. Maybe he's not dead. I don't know. They can come up with any kind of story to just kind of carve here if that's what they really wanted to do. Anyways, so the worm lets go of the arrow wing. So the duck's ship makes it through the portal or the hole, the wormhole, and they of course obviously don't know of which the planet that they are heading to, but they know that Lord Dragonus had gone on to get there, so they in turn are to just be like, okay, we're just going to follow him and just get to this planet. Uh, and they see a sign that says "Welcome to Anaheim, home of the mighty frogs." So we cut to credits there. So the first face off part 2, we have Phil that's making a call, I think, to his wife. And so the captain is going on and taking like a donut or something and trying to get all this schmutz that's from his shirt off by scraping the the cream or whatever that was in this donut back onto the donut. So the captain is telling Phil, okay, this story better be good. So the Ducks have now gone on to land on Anaheim, and they're not quite sure, like, is this planet called Anaheim? Like, what? So they further start to explore, and they find the Anaheim Mall. So Lord Dragunov has now landed onto this mountain and wants to try to cloak the ship so the ducks won't find it. The problem is that the cloak isn't exactly working perfectly. So it seems that they'll need to go on and they'll need to find crystals in order for the cloak to work better. So the ducks make their way onto Earth, and you would think every second passing, people would be freaking out that these ducks exist. The only time that it seems people do that is immediately when the ducks get into the comic shop, which you would think for them, the comic shop people, they wouldn't be freaking out about them, but they do anyways. So the ducks go into the comic shop, the store owners freak out, and some of the ducks also go on and they head in the front of the Wiener World, and they think that that's weirdly the name of this planet, but it's just a restaurant chain. So all of the ducks regroup into the comic book shop, and Wildwing goes on and finds this super soaker, which eventually in episode 4 we'll come back to. Wildwing shoots this super soaker and it hits Grin in the face, and he says, wow, they must have some weird battles here in this planet. So the more that they're in this comic book shop, they start bringing up hockey. And Thrash is like, oh, you guys like hockey? Well, hey, you'd be in luck because there's this hockey arena over here called the Pond. And they're like, oh, okay. So, because he takes them outside and he shows them the pond. So, the team make their way in front of the building, and conveniently, Phil is waiting out there for him. He's sitting on the ground. He's thumbing through some paperwork. And then all of a sudden he sees the ducks and he's seeing huge dollar signs. He's like, "Oh my god, like I can market this team." So the ducks just want to play hockey, and so Phil brings them in to the locker room for them to suit up. Phil says, "Yeah, like if you guys want to go on and if you want to basically win um this arena, you're going to have to face off against this team called the Destroyers to get this arena permanently." So the Ducks go out there to face up, and I like how the fact that they don't have their Mighty Ducks uniforms right away. That if anything, they just have these like orange, kind of like if you have like practice uniforms, like this would be it. So they all go out there and they start taking uh taking it to the destroyers. So the destroyers, they cheat to win. And the more that they cheat, the ducks start to realize like, hey, yeah, like these guys are kind of tough. Like they're overpowering us and they're cutting corners and Duke and Grin and even Wild Wing is to see that they are to move the goalposts or move the net in order to score to get wins. So Wild Wing brings the team in. It's like, hey, yeah, we're gonna go on. We're gonna beat them at their own game, but we're going to do it the right way. Like we're not gonna cheat like they are. So we see Mallory that gets the puck away from one of the team here, and destroyers. And so Duke goes on and is almost like high sticking with one of the other guys because he's basically like they're basically smacking sticks so that way it kind of gets this guy to not be concentrating on Mallory. So there's some pucks to be passed here, and there's Grin to need to kind of like body check people. But if anything, it's all led to Mallory and Nosedive needing to score here to kind of win the game. Or I assume like it also kind of shows Tanya by the goal. So I'm like, okay, like so I was trying to figure out like what was kind of going on here at this point. So, but the Ducks win this game. Phil, all he's seeing is dollar signs, and he's getting onto his phone, and like the newspapers are launching like the Alien Ducks land in Anaheim, Space Ducks hockey heroes, da 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 da. So we cut to the Ducks playing and winning, and they changed the sign to the Anaheim Mighty Ducks instead of the Mighty Frogs. At some point after the game, the whole team is to get into their vigilante gear. And they had mentioned about how they had a clause in their contract, a loophole, where they can go on and build some underground base. And Phil is to have been forced to fund the whole thing, but then he's going on and trying to figure out how to make money off of it, where he's like, hey, maybe I can charge people $10 because people want to go on and see this underground base. Ooh, yeah. Like, I'm sorry, like, I don't see, like, Bruce Wayne trying to make money off the Batcave. It's like, hey, maybe I can go on and I can have people tour the Batcave. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. If anything, I think that would be so fascinating if there was to go on and be in like the distant future, there was to have them tour the Batcave because maybe either Batman doesn't exist anymore, or maybe it's just like the Batcave is a relic of something that they don't do anymore. But in the modern Batman is somewhere elsewhere or something like along those lines. But like that would be kind of funny to see them do something like that. Anyways, pushing on here. So they quickly show how this headquarters is to kind of change over time, and all the technological advances that they are to overwhelmingly dwarf modern technology within this headquarters, and how they have these like laser guns and or puck guns, um, and this huge Drake 1 computer. And Tanya mentions about how, uh, if anything, for the lack of technology that the humans have, it's going to take them a long time to actually advance in their technology. Blah 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 blah. So now at this point, the Ducks all want to go on and they want to fight off Lord Dragonus, and they take the migrator, which is to be this kind of massive truck tank like of a vehicle, and they go um, they go underneath this billboard sign to kind of drive out of it as it opens. So that's kind of like a weird kind of like Batman 66 kind of thing, where like Batman 66 had them kind of come out of like a cave, and so like it was kind of kooky and weird. So as the Ducks start driving around and the captain and Phil are continuing the story, Duke is to stop the Ducks from driving past this couple getting mugged by this motorcycle gang. And Wild Wing is like, why should we stop for them? Like, we don't even know anybody here. Like, we don't know anybody on this planet. And Duke is like, it doesn't matter. Like, if anything, like, we should do what's right here, and we should help not only ourselves but the people of this planet if they're in jeopardy. So the Ducks stop, and so the motorcycle gang is going to go on, and they're cornering this couple. So the Ducks arrive, they take all these goons and they chuck them in the dumpster, and they get rid of them. They drive by this bank. Duke is to kind of overhear there's this bank getting robbed, and again, Duke is to chime in, hey, let's go over and stop this bank heist. So Wild Wing adjusts into battle mode, and they burst their way into this bank. So these ninja looking guys are to basically look like Ninja Turtles. Let's write them off as that. So these two guys have this big huge laser gun that's almost to the size of themselves. And so it's a big huge laser gun. Then inevitably the battle mode migrator ends up going on and taking out, and then it turns around to have the Ducks come out and start fighting these ninjas as Grin and Mallory face off against them. So after the Ducks go on and beat the ninjas, they chuck them into this vault and think that, okay, this is a good place to kind of keep them captured here in this vault. And then they walk away. So as the migrator makes their way back to the headquarters, we have Tanya talking about Drake 1, the supercomputer. And Duke is to ask Wild Wing about the goalie mask, because it could be coming very much in handy. Wild Wing goes on and kind of pats his pockets like, yeah, like the mask is just right here. So, but it seems honestly that Wild Wing is at a hesitant about putting the mask on, because that would mean he's a leader of this team, and he doesn't really think that he is the leader of this team, or he doesn't feel right right now about putting on the mask. He just, because of Connor dying, and he he just needs time to grieve. He just needs time to maybe even second guess what his what Connard had gone on to tell him. So this alarm goes off. The ducks all get into the arrow wing, and we even have Phil that goes in the arrow wing also. So the hockey ring opens up, and they go shooting out of this arena, and they go flying off after uh, the Raptor ship that has kind of revealed itself to the Ducks here. So, like, every once in a while, I'll enjoy the banter of this captain, where he goes on and says stuff about, like, the whole, like, Spock wants his ray gun back because Star Trek reference. And at some point, the captain is just kind of, like, just not get the logic of any of this. And that happens from time to time. We also see that this guy is just consistently making food, like, just nonstop. Because every time we cut back to him, he's making some meal something. Like, it looks like right now he's pouring ketchup on to what looks like a donut. This makes no sense to me. I have no idea what's really going on here. Maybe it's some meat that he's pouring ketchup on. I have no idea. Anyways, so Phil mentions about how this ship is to be taking off and the arrow wing is to follow shortly there behind it. And Phyllis mentioned to the captain about how he was to kind of take charge here and was to be the one that was to kind of talk to everybody. But instead, we find that Phil is freaking out and having a panic like attack and is grabbing Duke and all these people, and just like he just is so afraid at this point. So, Wild Wing is to track down Lord Dragon's ship as it goes into Cloak. And Wild Wing finds that by putting on the mask. Or no, wait. Got a little ahead of myself. So, because this scene kind of confused me here. So, Wild Wing goes on to latch his ship onto the Raptor. No mask is to be required here. So, they end up cutting a hole in the ship and then roping their way down. The team all face off against Wraith, Siege, and Chameleon as they all appear. So, honestly, there is a lot of just kind of throwing around here. Duke and Wraith are sword to Duckstaff. At one point, also, there is another flame blast that Wraith has here. Chameleon becomes giant, and I think Mallory chucks him, and he hits Wraith. Lord Dragunov appears here, and creates a big, massive blast that goes on and takes down a lot of the team here, because a bunch of these containers all fall on top of them. There's one container that busts open and starts leaking out. So, Wild Wing has a shield that appears briefly, but we never see that again throughout the rest of these bit of episodes here. It doesn't quite make sense of why it just appears now and then we never see it again. I don't know. So I guess that was just a toy thing, but logically it wasn't it wasn't a thing that made sense to have on the show. I don't know why. That was so briefly used. So I guess the shield is the reason why he was protected and why he's still standing compared to everyone else. Anyways, so Lord Dragonus goes on to become invisible and start attacking Wildwing again. So, at some point, some of the ducks are to break away from the fighting, like Grin and Tanya, and they make their way into this room with this big, huge crystal with inside of it. Tanya is trying to figure out how to adjust this crystal, and Grin just goes on to just be like, well, hey, if we can't go on and if we can't figure out how to adjust this, then I'll just go and I'll just break it. Because the crystal is to be the ship's power source. So, Wildwing goes on and continues to get beaten up here. So finally, Wildwing goes on and is to be remembered of Canard and his sacrifice. So finally, Wildwing is like, hey, I need to go on, I need to beat this guy, so I'm going to put on this mask so that way I can see him. And I will realize that I need to be the leader here, I need to go on and I need to win. So, if anything, we can also just look at this mask as just a piece of armor. Like, it doesn't have to mean anything. Like, it's just a tool for him to use. And him just begrudgingly not wanting to use it is just foolish. So, that's why he's really, I think, in my opinion, thrusting it on also. To just be like, hey man, like, I should be protecting myself. So, Wildwing puts the mask on and starts battling Dragonus. So, Tanya and Grin reunite with the rest of the Duck team, and they look very burnt and very blackened. Wildwing looks at both Tanya and Grin. It's like, hey, like, what happened to you? And Tanya's like, well, hey, we need to kind of get out of here. Because, yeah, we just blew up their crystal source. So we like, yeah, this ship is going down. So the Ducks all get back into the Arrow Wing, but then start to realize, wait a minute. That ship is going to go on and going to crash somewhere. It can put a number of lives in jeopardy. We don't know where it's going. There's a risk here. So they start to follow the ship, and Lord Dragonus and Siege get to try to control the ship, and they're figuring out what to do. So they transfer to auxiliary power, and Tanya figures out that they did that somehow. So they're like, okay, great, they figured it out. So by the end of all this, Dragonus gets away, but the Ducks team are so happy that now they have a leader and they know it's Wildwing. And they're just happy about that. Like, that's the big takeaway from this. So, as the captain and Phil drive away here in this car, the captain is to ask Phil, hey, so do you guys know where Lord Dragonos is now? And Phil's like, yeah, no one really knows. So, all of a sudden, this skyscraper decloaks and it shows the ship in plain sight. So, and Lord Dragonos starts to go on and browbeat a lot of his flunkies, like Chameleon and so on and so forth, sits on his throne, and is just upset with his flunkies. Like, I think he's going on and, like, as per usual, every villain has to go on and have this, like, well, next week, oh, next time, I'll get him. Anyways, so Phil makes his way back to Drake 1 and the headquarters, and the ducks are kind of surrounding him. They all go on and they ask Phil, it's like, well, hey, like, what did you tell him about this story that is to have been our lives? And Phil's like, well, I told him everything. It's like, well, good. Like we shouldn't have any like secret identity here, or like we have nothing to hide. So like, yeah, that's fine. So by the end of it, it's like they get to like just the end of this scene, and there's just not much that kind of just is to come from it. And so because it's to cut to the next episode, A Traitor Amongst Us. So Chameleon and Wraith make their way to this neighborhood. They go into this house, and the house ends up being the Raptor ship. So Lord Dragonus is to mention about how he needs a chip for this cannon, and there is supposedly a longitude and latitude on this map of where exactly it's located, but he's having a tough time narrowing it down exactly where this thing is. It's kind of like a hidden treasure. We come to find that like it's kind of underground underneath this cave and this temple, into the ship, it's a hard time to get to this thing. So yeah, like they're trying to figure it out and they're failing to. The chameleon transforms into Wild Wing, and is to basically, in other words, say that Wild Wing will lead them to the chip. And so it's like, but okay, but how do we go about this? So Lord Dragonus is like, well, hey, I think I have a person in Puck World that I can go on and I can call up, which is to be a woman named Decoy. So the Mighty Ducks take on the Macaroons, and we'd come to find that the Ducks score, the Ducks gather together, and game over. Tanya is just walking around the arena to be surprised by Decoy. As both Decoy and Tanya start talking, Tanya is feeling that she's in danger because she doesn't trust this girl. And Decoy is like, well, yeah, that's why I met with you first, because you're going to be my only true threat, because the only person that knows me is you. So Decoy takes Tanya out, and then we cut to the Ducks all going on into their base, and they're playing chess and Nosedive and Duke are doing something in the background. Wild Wing makes his way to the computer to realize that somebody is to be an intruder and is going through their secret elevator. They make their way to the secret elevator door to see. It's like, well, whoever comes through this door will blast them. So Decoy comes out of the secret elevator, and she explains that she's one of them. They don't buy it. Wild Wing scans her via his mask and realizes, no, she's a duck like we are. She's telling us the truth. So immediately, Nosedive and Duke start to figure out ways to be talking to this girl. In other words, to like to try to get her attention, and inevitably just be like, well, hey, she's gonna be mine, kind of thing. So they're fighting over her. So Phil comes in and looks at Decoy and just sees dollar signs, because of course he does. So he's going on and he's like, hey, I can make you a model, I can make you this, and Grin immediately looks at Phil. It's like, well, yeah, of course. Immediately when you see any one of us, you're just seeing money. You're not seeing anything else. So we then cut to Decoy. Decoy tells the team to make their way to this specific longitude and latitude marker on this map, and so they follow her instructions. So they get the arrow wing out, they fire off, and so Wrath and Siege are going on and blasting off this area to hope that they can find where this ship is. And so they start talking about how, like, hey, yeah, this is going to be great. We're going to get the jump on the ducks. This is great. So, because they're not going to know we're going to be down here. So, immediately, like, I don't know what it is with Duke. I think Duke, more so than anybody else, has times where he is drawn poorly. Like, there are obviously times where color doesn't always match up to a good chunk of the show. There's one time where, specifically here during this scene, that Duke's eye patch is turned red, as if he weirdly has had a temporary change in color. And also, Duke, at some point in his skin, is to be painted orange. So somebody wasn't paying attention at some point, or maybe there was a computer error or something. I don't know what happened there, but either way, there was some issue with color correction that just turned, strangely enough, because maybe there could have been a number of people just working on this this thing that, and they screwed up the color or something. Something could have happened. Either way, it got messed up. So so Duke and Nosedive are trying to figure out a way to butter this girl up. And she's like, well, I haven't eaten anything lately, so can you guys find me something? So they're going through the arrow wing. They're opening up every cupboard, and they come off empty. So the arrow wing lands, and they all get out of the arrow wing, and they're to be blasted by Siege. So the guys all duck for cover here as Siege is blasting away. Wraith appears. So there's now a gunfight going on. And we, of course, have Nosedive and Duke that are trying to just, like, one-up one another here. Because, of course, they are. But if anything, there is at one point where there's this rock thrown, and Duke and Nosedive are arguing. So Decoy pretends that she's on the duck side, so she goes on and she hits Siege and takes him out. And after it looks like Decoy is on their side, Wraith and Siege disappear. So now the team is trying to figure out why is it that Siege and Wraith were there. So Buffalo Wild Wings goes on and uses his mask to scan around the area, and he uncovers some hidden thing in the rock. So Grin goes on to use his muscles to destroy the cave around them, which opens up this temple, which then leads to a spacecraft, which leads to this ship that has this light spotlight on it for some goofy reason. So they make their way back to Drake 1 and headquarters, and Wild Wing puts the chip into this this safe, for this secure lockup area, and then they leave it because they know that Lord Dragonus will probably be looking for this thing, so, like, getting out of his hands and kind of keeping it safe. So Decoy leaves to go to a room, and as Duke and Nosedive follow her, Decoy leaves them with asking, well, hey, can you get me some food? Like, I'm so hungry. So Duke and Nosedive go into the kitchen, and Nosedive is to be at this blender, and he's just chucking a bunch of stuff that makes no rhyme or reason for it to be in a blender, and he's gonna blend it, and he gets thrusted like it all looks like slime falling at his face, and he just looks stupid. Anyways, so now finally Mallory is to be the only one that notices that Tanya has been gone for a long time, and it no longer makes any sense for why she has disappeared for so long. Without a call, without a nothing. She hasn't appeared yet. Where is she? So all of a sudden we have a phone call coming from Tanya, but it's really actually to be Decoy. Decoy is to mention to the team about how she needs this model number or part number or something, and needs them to kind of take apart this computer in order to get to that. And Wild Wing is like, well, do we really have to just to get this number? Like, if anything, that'll take a long time to fix, and that'll take a long time to make adjustments. And Tanya's like, well, yeah, I need that model number. So the whole room of which that had that safe, that had that chip, is now to have no one in there. So Decoy gets to the chip through this secret area, puts the chip into this teleporting device that appears in front of Lord Dragunov, and he puts it in his hand. So finally, as the Ducks find out about Decoy and that the chip is now gone, Decoy is to mention about like, well, yeah, like, Lord Dragonus was gonna do something with my family. I'm sorry, like they had my family. So she's crying. They go on and they console her. It's like, okay, all right. So now we have Tanya. Tanya is to have been tied to the scoreboard. She finally frees her beak from this tape and cries out. Phil overhears her because Phil is to need to be the one that saves her here, which is strange. So Phil goes on and asks Tanya what she's doing on the scoreboard, and Tanya's like, well, she makes up like this goofy answer. So Tanya's like, well, yeah, I need to make it back to the team because they don't know Decoy like I do. So we now cut to Decoy, who has brought the Mighty Ducks team to some warehouse that seems to have Lord Dragonus with inside of it. But eventually there's going to be yet another trap here. So the team goes into this warehouse to find that all of a sudden the floor from underneath them is to drop, and then they all fall into this tank where water is siphoning into it. That which it means the ducks are going to drown here. Which, when I was watching this, I'm like, can ducks drown? Like, I was like, well, they don't have gills, but I was like, ducks drowning, yeah. Like, I don't know why in my brain I had that problem, but I was just like, yeah, like I didn't think that ducks could drown in my brain. It just didn't think that it could be a thing. So, anyways, so Decoy goes on to rip out this steering wheel valve, and basically does that because if anybody tries to rescue them, like they're gonna have a tough time freeing them from this tank, and this water is still siphoning in. So as the water continues to rise here, like, why is it that the Mighty Ducks don't have a lick of weaponry to them? Like, why aren't any of them trying to break this tank? None of them are trying to blast their way through it. All of them are just like, well, I guess we're gonna die, and none of it makes sense. In my brain noggin, maybe there was some kind of dialogue which I missed here, but like I was just like, okay, why are they just all accepting their fate here? So Tanya figures out where the ducks had went to, and she is to go on to fall into the same hole as the rest of the ducks did. So Tanya falls through the hole to eventually try to figure out how to help the ducks from escaping. So Tanya starts to look around and sees that she needs specific tools that'll take too long to free them. And then she looks at the steering wheel valve that had gotten ripped off. So inevitably, because Tanya can't figure out of a quick way to free these people here, what she does is she just gets a gun out, she blasts them free, and then they're like, oh great, Tanya, or you're back. Oh great, great. So so the duck team wait. So Decoy goes on to give to give or to have given Lord Dragonus this chip. But we'd come to find out that it's actually the wrong chip, that it's some decoy of chip. So, and we'd find that out because Wild Wing had gone on to take chips and swapped it out without Decoy noticing. And then when Decoy gave Dragonus this chip, yeah, it was the wrong one. So the cannon explodes, and now Dragonus goes on to get the real chip, but sends Decoy to supposedly make her way back to Puck World, is what she thinks, but instead he's going to send her to a place of which that she will ultimately regret going to. So, and then Dragonus hoists the chip over his head. So the team bursts in, starts fighting, or starts grabbing onto all the villains here. And Dragonus explains to Wild Wing and his team that the hunter drones are to go on and to be able to blast any of the crates at any moment here. And the crates are to be lined with explosives. So, if anything, these guys should not go on and be focusing on them. They should be focusing on the hunter drones. And so at some point when Dragonus gets free, Dragonus just blasts the crate himself, and then they teleport out of there. So now the ducks need to scramble out of this warehouse before it all explodes. And now at this point, we, I guess, have Duke and Nosedive that learns their lesson as Mallory comes out of this door as they make their way back to their headquarters. And Mallory is all looking good. It's like, oh wow, like, hey, there's a body under that armor suit of yours. So Mallory's going to say, hey guys, want to go on? You want to go out sometime? You want to go out? And the two guys decide to not fight over Mallory. They decide to just kind of go on and read a book or play a game or watch something on TV or something instead. So now we're at episode 4. We're actually doing some pretty decent timing. I thought this was going to take forever. I don't know what took so long the first time around. Maybe I went into too much detail the first time around. That's probably the case. Or I was going on and just trying to figure out what to say the first, because by this time, like when I got to the fourth episode, I was about 2 hours in, and then I made a mistake by going into something, and it completely cut off the feed, and I completely lost the whole the whole 2 hour video. I'm like, mother, and I just realized that I had to do the whole thing all over again now. So I'm happy that I had this to have done fast enough that at least it justified me doing this again and hopefully getting this uploaded and out, and people will be okay about it and people will watch it, I hope. I don't know about this one. Um yeah, but like some of these videos I really pushed that I'm like, yeah, no one's gonna watch this one. And then I'd come to find like that's the one that people would just watch this like I didn't think that Spider Noir was going to do that well, and it's continuing to do numbers. I'm like, great. Like, I guess that thumbnail was just unique enough to but I have to get back into doing Spider Noir. I have to keep on it. Um, but yeah, so I will finish. I've said I'm doing that as a season. I will try to get to that. There's gonna be a lot of projects that I'm gonna put in front of that, but yeah, I'm gonna try to get back to it because I know like it'll be best if I at least try to keep getting into that and chopping away at it. But also, I had so much things that I've kind of promised to people, and I've kind of probably let them down by, like, god dang, like, when is he ever gonna get to this project? Uh, but that's the problem. Like, there's so many people to try to please, and I don't know where they all came from, where they all are to come from as one as interest. But anyways, uh, let's get to this fourth episode so I can get this uploaded. Or otherwise, I get lost in the weeds and I talk for 30 minutes and just do a rant that doesn't help the video. So, this is to be Zap Attack. I apologize if I didn't say the episode's titles. Quite often, like, I don't think the episode titles really matter, but maybe they do. But there's also a lot of times where I just don't know where an episode ends sometimes because just the way that I just clip things. I make that mistake. I just don't know any better. But anyways, so Zap Attack. We'd start out the episode with Nosedive and Tanya watching the news about a Dr. Huggerman. And Tanya's like, hey, I know that doctor. Like, yeah, like we played cards together. Yeah, I know him really well. So Tanya goes on and grabs the phone, and there ends up being this warning alert, and all the team gathers together by Drake 1. So we find that that Siege and Chameleon are blasting away on these construction workers at this orbital industry place where like astronaut ships rocketing off, what have you. Probably said that earlier, but I have no idea if at some point, like, it gets to the point where I just talk for just a long-winded amount of time that, again, there's sometimes where I just don't remember what I said, so I can kind of back over things and whatever because I just don't remember. I'm not trying to do it on purpose. It's just like there's sometimes I don't remember, but also there's sometimes where I just really like that joke and then I just keep going back to it because I think it's funny. But anyways, so Siege and Chameleon are blasting away, and they're like, "Man, I love to blast away people in the morning," kind of thing. So the ducks land with their arrow wing, and they start puck blasting both Siege and Chameleon, they start fighting them. Nosedive starts fighting with Chameleon, and I think there's like either a Jerry Springer person or some kind of therapy person that Chameleon becomes. And then as the two of them separate, Chameleon turns into Rodney Dangerfield, who gets no respect. No respect. Anyways, so Captain America's like, I get that reference. And not Captain America's like, I don't get that reference. Anyways, so as we start to pile on the attacks here, because it gets to the point where it kind of gets to the numbers game of things. So Chameleon and Siege realize that as the pucks come flying and how they're consistently getting blasted here, that they just disappear. So as the team make their way back to the arena, because they have to focus on their game against the Flamingos, of all things, another bird team. So they're facing off against this team. The goalie catches the puck, the Flamingo goalie. So we now cut back to Lord Dragonus. So Lord Dragonus explains to both Siege and Curly from Three Stooges, who's the Chameleon, what his next plan is about the energy creature that he is to have to wreak havoc upon the Ducks. And Siege and Chameleon is like, well, how exactly you're going to go on and how exactly you're going to have this energy creature get to the Ducks. And Dragonus is like, well, considering the Ducks are located in a publicly placed area, then all we need to do is have them be a phone call away, and the energy creature will just lock onto that. So the energy creature gets opened from this glass to then go into this communicator device. And then we see that this phone is ringing, and then it glows yellow. So Grin has the puck here, and as the score is to be going on here, all of a sudden the scoreboard completely explodes, and they're kind of a little baffled by that. All of a sudden, on the hockey ring, here's where the energy creature starts to wreak havoc around the arena. As the Ducks start to go on and start to, within their own hockey gear, start to try and face off against this threat, they eventually realize that they need to swap into their vigilante gear as the energy creature starts to get out of the arena and starts wreaking havoc. So, I don't know if I've said this already, but this fourth episode feels very much like, no, I think I've said all that, where I've talked about, like, the Twilight Zone and the, they had gone on and done, like, Gremlin episodes, in so many, and also Gremlins. Yeah, like, anything that has to do with anything Gremlins, like, this feels very much like those episodes. We've always had it, like, I can go on also through here and compare this to stuff like the real Ghostbusters episode, Lost Foundry or whatever, where there ends up being these, like, appliances that all start to go on and start to become possessed, and then eventually they all gather together in one location, and they become this big, huge, monstrous creature that the Ghostbusters have to go on and have to beat. Which is kind of like this episode, because it does basically the same thing. Like, we don't have the monster technically combine as appliances, but like the small creatures eventually by the end of the episode all gather up to become one big monster. So, but yeah, that staple has kind of happened since the end of time. Like we've always had that somewhere in a show. Um, so yeah, like I actually love that idea. I think it's cool. Um, it is to be a thing where it kind of cuts the corners instead of having to go on and figure out how, because this is a team going against like what looks like an individual monster, but you kind of take that away when the monster starts to multiply. So it kind of is a good idea because this is the team. So I'll give him credit for that at least. So as the energy creature starts to wreak havoc through the Drake 1 computer and starts going in and out of it and starts to break it, the guys go on through the normal means of using their puck blasters and everything they have to them, and the creature just continues to split and multiply and separate, and then it escapes from the same exact getaway that uh, the migrator would have when it opens up through this billboard sign and drives off, which eventually will be the next thing that we see here. So, in the migrator, we'd find a creature left inside there, and the ducks start to lose control of the vehicle, and it gets tipped over. The creatures start wreaking havoc through the town, and when people fight against it, it splits and multiplies. So eventually there's a plan where Grin and Tanya here are to realize that they need to leave to go to find Mr. Hagerman to get to his island because he's to be the only one that is probably to have the intelligence to know how to defeat this thing. So they run off. So the rest of the team starts to separate here. Mallory and Buffalo Wild Wings separate while Nosedive and Duke separate because, and I'm like, couldn't they have gone on and couldn't they have kind of swapped up this team a little bit more? Like, we just did an episode with Duke and Nosedive. Like, is that like Brooklyn and the Gargoyles where he always gets like teamed up with like the yellow gargoyle? And like they're always working together, like they're always like best friends. Like, is that the thing that they're going with here, where they're lumping these guys up together because they're going to be best friends? Whatever. Either way, so Duke and Nosedive go into the, I think it's a subway station, but there's always like a problem of me where I always get confused whether it's a train or it's a subway station. To me, this looks like a subway station. But I think in the show they may have called it a train at some point, so I'm a little confused about what is what here. Um, I'll call it a subway station, and people can correct me in the comments. It doesn't matter to me. It's like, hey man, like I'm sorry, like at least I kind of, the mapping seemed right in my brain to just be like subway station. That's what the environment looked like. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So one of the energy creatures goes inside of this truck, and so Wildwing and Mallory are forced to act. The other energy creature goes into the subway station, hence why both Duke and Nosedive are running to the subway station. They force everybody off of the subway to have them be safe, and then they realize that the doors close on them, and now they're stuck and they're not safe. So as the truck goes wildly off, and Mallory thrusts out her gun or her rifle. Wild Wing says, "Hey, the back of that truck has gasoline as a tanker in the back of it. Like, we can't go on and we can't blast this thing because the explosion will be massive. Like, we can't do this here." So, but at some point the truck, I think, does explode because it hits a wall. So that's okay. But anyways, so we now cut to Tanya and Grin, and the two of them are obviously in what looks like a duck boat, because it's shaped like all the other arrow wings and all those other things, but it's a boat now. Like, where do they get all this stuff from? It's like Batman, and Batman has like all the Batmobile and Batwing and 30 other different vehicles and stuff that he can interswap with and destroy it, and like no one will care or know the difference because this guy just has money to burn, and so he just gets another Bat Cycle or another Batmobile or whatever, because they're just interchangeable, it seems. Let's get back into the episode. I'm sorry for these tangents. I guess I'm a little just distracted. I'm sorry. So, plus this is the last episode. I feel like I want to just get everything out here because people may not watch the whole people may not watch the whole thing. So we cut back to the truck. Wild Wing and Mallory get on top of it and then slide into the driver's seat. And so in the train, they make their way to the part of the train that is the console, the controlling of the train. So they're hitting all these levers and nothing is really going on. If anything, the energy creature is to try and attack them the more that they start adjusting things. So Duke and Nosedive decide that they're going to cut away the front car from the rest of the train because that front car is to be the only thing keeping this train going. So Duke gets his blade out, cuts the car away that he's in from the front one, and the front car continues on driving. And so Duke and Nosedive are like, aha, like, we figured out a way to just save ourselves. But here's the thing. One, that car is still going. It's still being a problem probably somewhere. Like, it'll crash into something. It'll hurt people. So what you're still doing is putting people in jeopardy, plus this energy creature is going to go off and go elsewhere. It's going to latch onto something, if not that specific car, and still be wreaking havoc and hurt somebody somewhere. So, like, if anything, that could have been a smart strategy to save yourselves, but if anything, also, what happens also here is to just be like, good. Like, you thought you were smart, but if anything, it's still going to not work out for you. So the car that the creature was in decides to reverse itself and is to go smashing back onto the train, and the train or the subway can the train decides to completely derail. It falls over. So the next thing we see is both Duke and Nosedive eventually getting their way out of the train, and they realize that, like, they're still alive. So here's where we see Wild Wing and Mallory crashing into this wall, and the truck explodes. Both Wild Wing and Mallory get out of the truck in time, and they're still alive. Eventually, the whole team will regroup, and they'll have to figure something next out. So Grin and Tanya have made their way to the island to get to Mr. Huggerman's fortress that has all these lasers and blazers and tasers and just mainly just lasers. So Tanya is trying to call out to Huggerman as Huggerman is just thinking that this is just some weird salesman that desperately needs to make a buck here. So Tanya tries to use her gun to take out some of the lasers, and so they inevitably make their way to this door. And now, because this door will not get open, Grin forces it open. He bashes it open. Mr. Huggerman's like, "Oh, Tanya, it's you!" And so he's like, "Okay, you want to play cards?" So the next thing we see is Wraith. Wraith goes back to the Orbital Industries spot, and he goes on to plant something there that I think has some connection with a satellite, because they want to take control of this satellite, because they want to fire off this weapon off of this satellite, is I think this fourth episode's weird cockamamie idea. The energy creature, I guess, isn't enough. They want to control a satellite also. Whatever. So Nosedive and Duke and Wild Wing and Mallory, at some point they are to go on and be nearby this audio and television store as they see on the TV this missile launch. So we cut to Mr. Huggerman with Tanya, and they're playing cards back at the comic shop. So the rest of the Ducks team, with the exclusion, of course, of Tanya and Grin, they make their way back to the comic book shop as they're to go on to figure out the electrical villain's weakness, which of course is water. They get the super soakers, which of course was to be shown in the pilot, and so they're going to use those super soakers here to face off against the villains as they make their way out of the comic book shop. So as Mr. Huggerman and Tanya are playing goldfish, and the more Mr. Huggerman does not want to go on and doesn't want to help Tanya and what she has to ask him for, Grin is to inevitably just not take no for an answer, grabs Mr. Huggerman and basically tells him, "Hey, you need to do whatever you want to do. But you're going to say yes to what we have you do. Like, I'm going to basically do whatever I need to do to, like, threaten you here to say, like, you're going to do this." And Mr. Huggerman's like, "Okay, all right." So he gives in. So the Mighty Ducks team goes after the electrical creatures with these super soakers. And in all honesty, like, it doesn't really do enough with these super soakers to really, like, it doesn't destroy them. Like, it just kind of pushes them around. Like, so it's not really an effective weapon. Like, if anything, they should have pushed them to a water source, or they should have tried the whole, like, gremlin strat or something. Because maybe that would have worked out. So they keep super soakering them, and eventually this rocket seems to be going off here. So at some point we make our way back to Lord Dragonus and Siege, and they're watching this this spaceship go off. So we now cut back to the Ducks. The energy creature is to be so hit with these super soakers that they decide that they are going to go on and just jump into these large construction vehicles to control them, so that way, of course, they won't be stopped by the Ducks. So the construction vehicles start to surround them, the cranes, the steamrollers, and they start to circle the Ducks, and they're eventually going to get crushed by them, or what it looks like they're going to get crushed by them. This wrecking ball starts going flying, And so uh, we have Wraith, Chameleon, Lord Dragonus. They're all going on and they're all watching on, just seeing what's happening here. So the ducks try to just go back to their puck weapons, and here's where Tanya, Grin, and Mr. Huggerman appear here, and Huggerman has this energy magnet. So immediately when he turns this energy magnet on, all of the energy creatures form onto this magnet. The bigger and bigger it forms, they're like, yeah, like we're doing it, yeah. And then all of a sudden they realize how big this thing is getting. And then it's like, oh no, like this thing is now massive. So this thing is now massive. The energy magnet cannot control it. And so at this point, still Lord Dragunov is still thinking about the whole satellite thing. And so at this point, they are to go on and have a plan to knock out two birds with one stone. If the satellite is going to go on and blast this weapon down on them, and they need to get rid of the energy creature, if anything, they need to redirect both to simultaneously hit one and the other to cancel one another out. That's their master plan. So if anything, the ducks run to this satellite dish, and Huggerman reactivates this energy magnet. So the creature goes to the satellite dish, and the energy creature goes into the energy magnet and then goes shooting out of the satellite dish, and then hits the satellite that's in space, the blast that it has. The two of them go on and they meet. They cancel one another out, and the ducks win yet again here. So by the end of all this, they make their way back to the headquarters after they've won, but there is still one energy creature left. So now they're like, okay, if there is one energy creature left, what should we do with it? And they say, well, hey, Lord Dragonus has kind of made this such a big problem for us. How about we in turn make it a problem for him? So they had found, I believe, his communicator. So the energy creature goes inside the communicator, and all of a sudden the energy creature reappears on the Raptor ship and starts wreaking havoc and starts taking out the ship. Then we roll the credits. Thank God I'm going to get out of here. Whew! Yeah. I think I'm just going to go on and just call this a video. I'm so happy that this is done. Yeah, I had just spent 2 hours at some point and then this all cut off. So I'm just like, thank God I got this done. There's at a point where I was just like, am I going to get this done? Also, I was just like, man, like I wish I probably could have gone on and gotten another project on top of this done, but I don't know. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think I just need to just do my normal Timu grinding and whatever, and then probably just see if I can just start a project, but not obviously going to go on and finish it. Yeah, I still don't think I'm gonna get back into, and I've probably posted this and talked about this way too often. Like I have to give people seemingly a daily update just because like I have nothing left to do now but to just kind of do videos because if anything, like my workouts are at a complete pause right now because I can't do them. Um, but yeah, but it's just like uh so at least that's good for the channel. Like that I can consistently do this. It's nice that I can be able to sit down and be able to do these videos at least. Because there were certain days I think before um whereas even a challenge to do videos just because of just the pain I was in or just like how like yeah there's no way I can go on and be able uh to be thinking about the pain I'm in and being able to do these videos. So it's nice. I hope I can recover soon so I can just because like I'm looking at it as like the longer I go about this, I'm just kind of worried about like my diet. I'm worried about like the longer I go about this, like the shape my body's gonna look. So that's a lot of vain stuff, but also it's just like I wanted to try to bounce back from me gaining back a lot of weight, but yeah, and then this happened. I'm like, great, like plus I probably pushed myself too hard. Um I realize that mistake now, but if anything, um like if I didn't push myself, then I would feel like the workouts would have been a waste. But here's where I am now. But I don't know. It's just like, but yeah, I just saw like I posted this on the community thing. Um, I just saw the recent teaser thing that I think is, I don't think it exists anymore. I think they got rid of it because they realized how like bad that teaser really was. There's a teaser going out about uh in the new Cape Fear thing, like there was just a guy that was just doing these lists, and then they would say Cape Fear on him. Like, what the does that even mean? Like, how does that help the movie? That just looks like desperate, and you're just like trying to give like sex appeal or something like that. That was like just the strangest teaser to me. I'm like, that has nothing to do with Cape Fear. Like when I think of Cape Fear, I don't think of weightlifting, um, but it's really strange what they think is going to be a thing that could sell a movie. Maybe it'll get a lot of women to be like, ooh ah, but like, if anything, nobody's going to be ooh and ahhing about Cape Fear of all things. Um, but it looks like you got a bunch of shirtless guys in that movie, so I guess like they're really trying to push the skin appeal of that film. So that's what they're trying to they're just trying to figure out ways to just sucker people into films that obviously aren't that good. But the good thing about lately is I think there's a lot more people that are actually trying out new releases lately than ever before. So it's really good to feel that I can do new releases myself and there's going to be an audience there. Because there was a time where there really wasn't an audience for new releases. I think now is the perfect time for me to come back to new releases and hopefully cover them more when it makes sense to. Like there's some stuff where I was just like, I'm still kind of tempted to cover still like Project Hail Marys and Mortal Kombat 2s, and I know that's getting later and later since those have been released, but I don't care. Like if I feel that I can get enough together to just double up on things, um, then those projects hopefully will be just kind of to be extra little things that I'm just like, hey, I just wanted to talk about this anyways. I could even go on and do like condensed down versions of the reviews, just because I know that people may not care because it's been out so late. Um, like there's sometimes where I think people are just seeing it as like, well, hey man, you waited too late, da 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 da. Like I see it as like at some point somebody is going to see this movie somewhere. So, like, if anything, it's surprising, like, how many movies actually do well on it. So, like, I always feel that if I don't do something at this point, like, I'm kind of just leaving views on the table. Like, and that means anything across the board. Like, it feels like everything could be covered, regardless of how old it is, regardless of how obscure it is, regardless of just how um, like, it's a new release. You shouldn't be doing that a month after it comes out. It- you can do it whenever. Like, at some point, the views will come. Um, Maybe not as good as it would have when it first came out, but like, if you're the one that is to have reviewed it the most recently over everyone else, or if you just have a better thumbnail than everyone else, then that's the first thing that people are going to find. And like, I think the biggest missed opportunity that people make the mistake of is that people are lazy with their thumbnails. But like, there's people that have really good channels regardless of what their thumbnail looks like, just because they're smarter about it. Um, because they know the algorithm and they know how to work it. And they've just become like eventually they've just stacked upon uh, knowing how to to work things to where it just becomes like it is a thing that is successful every single time. Or it's just something that they're doing that no one else is because they're just smarter about it. So yeah, it's like, it's always weird kind of talking about shop, but um, as if I still know what I'm doing, which I never want to admit, even though I probably have probably just like, oh yeah, I think that's just a smart idea to what I'm doing. Um, I feel that I've been very lucky. Um, like, I've also done an enormous more research. I put more thought into this. Um, like, I feel that when I talk about movies, I'm gonna be like, hey, like, if you don't like this movie, here's 5 other films that you can go on and find and like more because I did, and it's just like this movie, but it's better. So, so I am to just do the legwork that will hope to at some point, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but my main focus is to always help people. It's always to help people. Like, I'm here to help people find movies and shows, or if people are very much knowledgeable about this stuff, then it's just kind of cool. Like, I always wanted to do this and then have people that would want to talk about movies and shows and then just be like, oh yeah, like, hey, let's go this direction, or maybe you should do this movie or do that. Like, it still kind of bugs me now how I still feel like I'm the one kind of steering this still. Um, but I get it. Like, why shouldn't I still be doing all of the work? But um, but still, it's like it would be nice to just know like the way of which that I can just kind of continue to go with this, that I know for certain that every time I'm going to um, be able to get X number of views every single time, because it's very finicky. Um, like I know I've made too many dumb choices at this point um, to probably think that this channel could be viable anymore, but like because like I've kind of derailed this too many times. I've gone on to take absences. I've gone on uh, to see things become huge successes, and I don't double down on that so quickly, or I don't go back to it. And more likely, it's sometimes just because like I felt forced into going into projects. That's why I like to do movies. It's always like a one-off experience, and then like if I feel that it was a real true benefit, I'll go back to it. Um, like I don't. My biggest problem is I don't think I also I don't sequel things. Like I don't do much of sequels of things. So, and I think that's probably also where the views could be, where it's just like instead of just doing the original movie, because everybody's probably heard of that. Like the sequels are like Thor: The Dark World was like, man, like that was crazy. Just how many people cared about that review. But or clicked onto it briefly and it's like, oh, this isn't the movie, and clicked off. Even though obviously, when you look at the thumbnails that I'm doing, like it should, with the way they look, like it shouldn't be anything but like a review. But like I don't think people get that. Um, People ask me about reactions, and I'm just like, no, like uh, it would be a smart play to like with the way I do this to do reactions, but like it's too much of a risk of the channel. Like it's getting to the point where now uh, companies are coming after reactors and now silencing them or killing their channel or whatever. It depends on what kind of reaction it is, but it's only a matter of time before um, like reaction channels are going to be at risk. Like if you're a reaction channel, I'm sorry if I'm to bring that up to you, like yeah, I don't know, whatever. Um, but hey, yeah, like even I'm to be just kind of worried about putting up images like what eventually my videos might just get taken down or copyrighted because of just images that I don't know. I always am to just worry about that. But like that's when I had like the early reviews just had a black screen and just because I didn't know really what was to be safe to use. Um, I didn't know if I could use a screenshot, and then the longer I did this, the more I just didn't care, and it was just like, oh, I'll just flop this on here and just, and I'll just test the waters to see uh, how cool this looks. And now we've kind of just gotten to morph to the point where we've gotten to here, where like I had to kind of find my way, like everything else, I had to just kind of find my way with this whole channel and just because I did on the other channel that I had before I came here, because I never probably talked about that at some point. Um, like I did reviews very kind of on and off, so I did so many of them on there, but I never really completely put much thought into it because I always had like, oh, I have to do a gaming video or I'm doing this. So Like, I didn't put much thought into it. Now that this is a full on, like, just review channel, now, like, I was forced into, like, well, yeah, I need to put more thought into this. I need to um, have more color. I need to go on and like add microphones and all these kind of things that still to this day, um, it's not good enough, but I'm just trying my best to make this somehow look a little bit more professional, even though it's not there yet. It's not there. Um, it probably won't get there at this point. Like, I think we've almost gotten to like the height of of uh, of this. Um, so as long as equipment keeps working, as long as I can keep finding movies and shows, which that'll always be a thing. I think we're good. Like, I think, yeah, I'm gonna get out of here because I've been rambling off. Um, when I get kind of late into these videos, I don't know. I just kind of go off and just keeps going. I guess that's just my attention span, or I don't know. It's just whatever is kind of coming out of my brain is I don't know. I'm just I'm stupid. Um, I always say this. I always make the constant joke. But thank you for watching this. Thank you for being a part of the channel in any way. If it's just a view that you clicked 10 seconds in this and then clicked off, um, that helps the channel. It helps me. It helps people know that people exist out there. I always have a fear that the people that have probably subscribed on this channel are not actually real people. Um, because whenever I go on and whenever I make surveys, like, there's not a majority of people that answer things, which I'm like, maybe people are just not survey people. Maybe they never notice these survey things. Um, maybe they look at it and like, oh yeah, the majority of people voted on this. Like, why should I vote for it? Or still, like, I'm not good at that yet. I'm not good at that yet. I'm not good at guessing at movies and shows. That's obvious. But um, but I don't know. Like, if anything, I probably should have gone on, which I tried this before, where I kind of narrowed down what interests people had of like, well, hey, what kind of genres do you like? What kind of this do you like? And then I kind of really heavily narrowed it down. But then even that, I'm like, well, when I would just do those kind of movies and shows, like, it didn't really seem that it was kind of like the majority of the people that voted, like, it didn't really seem that people really liked that kind of content. So it's just like, well, like is it people being honest, or is it people that are just kind of just sabotaging or just making it to be like vote on the hardest thing to review or vote on the shittiest thing, which that's understandable because, like, if anything, like, it's okay, like, because at the end of the day I'll just keep doing content. Like, if anything, I'll figure it out. Like, I'll go on and I'll like, thank you for voting on it. Thank you for doing something for the channel. Like, it helps me. Like, even if you're to do it as a joke or whatever, or even if you're like, oh yeah, um, like, even if you're to do it just to, because like the stuff that I put on there, like, it was obviously to be like, if I didn't ask, I probably would have chosen to do this stuff at some point anyways. Because I had all of this stuff prepped. I had all this stuff um, listed and rattled off. So, uh, but I obviously should have been doing a better job asking people more often. But I also don't want to keep bothering people and annoying them with just like asking them everything. Um, but that could be better. That could be, I don't know. But anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. So this is a shorter video. So thank you for watching this. Thank you for everything. Because we're gonna keep doing this. Like I say at this point that I want to try to have a list together, but ultimately I'm just kind of shooting at the hip. Whatever I feel I can get done the fastest, whatever I feel on the day I can tolerate the most doing, that's what I gravitate to. Like I at least give people a set number of things that's like this is what I'm feeling right now, but I'm mostly kind of just shooting at the hip. Uh, there's times where just things researched by me or just randomly found out about, like, oh, I just gravitate to that, and then I make that huge mistake uh, of thinking that's a viable thing, and it doesn't really matter to anybody. But um, off to the races. We'll see how well or how this thing just exists. And bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.